Welcome to the Hank Cisco Show, ladies and gentlemen. Don't touch that dial. Good show today. We're going to talk about Norristown. We're going to talk about the people in Norristown. We're going to talk about growing up in Norristown. Here's some things that maybe need repairing, maybe need a little lift, maybe need a little hug, maybe a little squeeze. You know, we have a lot of hugs but no squeeze, so we're going to have a little squeeze to it. So my guest today, ladies and gentlemen, and he is, we say in Madison Square Garden, 100, and I won't give the weight, right? And I'm going to let you explain who you are, your name, and what your title is, okay?
I'm Richard McCray. I also serve as a pastor of the Norristown Church of God, located right off of Green Valley Road and Wood Street. And I serve as the lead pastor for the Norristown Ministerial Association. And I've been in Norristown since 1979.
1979?
Yes. Came here at the age of 16.
Wow.
You know, after the death of my parents, came here to live with my sister, and she was a single parent, worked in the evenings, 3 till 11 at a local factory.
In Norristown?
Mm-hmm.
Whereabouts? Remember?
Up on the west side of town. I believe it was called Dill Products.
Yeah,
Dill Products.
Dill Products, right.
Yeah,
that's up there off Lafayette Street there, Washington Street in the back there. Yeah. Right.
She worked the 3 to 11 shift, and she had 3 teenagers, myself, my younger sister, and her son at the time.
How many in the whole family?
At that time, there was 4 of us.
Right.
4 of us.
But altogether, you were
in my
11,
family,
right.
in my family, there were 12 children. My mother and my dad had 6 boys and 6 girls, and I was the 11th son, and then there's a daughter under me. And she and I both graduated from this high school. I graduated in 1982.
Norristown High School.
Yes, and my sister
so you're not
graduated.
from outer space.
No, I'm not from outer space. I'm from South Carolina originally.
Right. All right. Now you came originally from South Carolina.
Yes.
I know a lot of people from Norristown from Saluda. Right. So you ever?
The interesting thing about Saluda, I never heard of it until I moved to Norristown. We're from a little area close to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, a little town called Loris, Loris.
How many people population?
Probably about 10,000.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but that's where I grew up.
All right.
You know, that's why I love to visit. Every year we go home with my
children.
What
did you bring to from South Carolina to Norristown?
Well, my love of family, my love of family, my love of community, you know, a good work ethic. You know, we moved here in October, and we moved here in September, and by October I had my first public job working at the McDonald's that was located on 202 in King of Prussia.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Worked there for 5 years. You know, that was my life. Going to school.
Make the sandwich or
I did everything.
Counter?
I did everything. I did the burgers. I did the cashier. I was a crew leader by the time I left there 5 years later.
You have the business feeling business spirit, I should say.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's what a lot of people should have. I think that's a vision that a lot of people, I don't know if you want to call them politicians or leaders of the community, they should be doing as much as they can to bring in businesses into the community.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's theater, whether it's restaurants, industry, whatever, you know, to get the people together. Now, your church, things changed the time you came, Norristown?
Yeah. My church is one of the oldest Pentecostal churches in Norristown. It's about 89 years old. I'm the 19th pastor there. I served at that church 5 years as an assistant pastor, and then I've been the senior pastor for 10 years now. And so in my growing up from 16 until my current age, I've seen Norristown gradually progress. You know, some communities have seemed to progress more rapidly, but Norristown is growing. You know, it has great potential.
It has potential.
Great potential.
Right.
Great potential, I believe.
And like I say, we have other towns that I remember I joined the police department about 1951, like Lower Merion, not Lower Merion, Upper Merion. You know, they only had 1 police officer. Collegeville only had 1. You know, you think they had West Norton had 1 or 2 police officers. You know, and Norristown was, you know, everybody came to Norristown. Had hotels, we had hospitals. You know, everything. Now, everything's moving out. You know, schools are moving out, churches are moving out. We had a macaroni factory, you know, that's paisan, you know, manja, you know. So we, and we have to, things are changing, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. We're working with a theater now. There's a lot of like the Center Theater. A theater is a good thing to have in the community. It brings people in. Churches bring people in. So tell me, if you had the power to say, I want to turn this town around a little bit, because there's talk like, well, we're falling behind. These other towns, West Norton, East Norton, they're building these hotels and different things. What would you do?
Well, I think one of the things that I would do is what we're doing today, bringing the generations together, having roundtable discussions, sitting down and talking about the past, but not in the context of wishing we were backing the past.
Right.
Trying to give the younger generations a reference point to where to work from. So, I mean, if I had a wish or a prayer for Norristown, it would be that we deal with the obvious issues, that we don't hide our heads in the sand, that we look at where we are today,
right.
We look at the challenges that we're faced with, and we come with concrete solutions about how can we resolve some of the issues, that we acknowledge that we have lost certain things, and we figure out how we're going to gain better things than what we have lost, and we work forward. We just be truthful about all of the challenges that we are faced with and how we can overcome them, working together.
Right. Well, my background is law enforcement, okay? So naturally, people come to ask policemen, got a problem.
Right.
Might be a serious problem.
Right.
You as a minister,
right,
reverend,
right,
people come to you with asking questions, needing help.
right.
What is the front burner of the problems that people are coming to you today?
Well, there's a scripture that tells us that when one knows the truth, it will make them free. So wherever a person is at,
what do you mean by that?
wherever an individual is at in life, if you can get them to understand what caused them to be there, whether it's positive or negative, and look at the dynamics of the environment that they are coming from or are currently living in, and challenge them to see, did you create some of the issues to cause you to be where you are today? And if they were negative choices, you got to start making positive choices. You cannot make negative choices and get positive consequences. Right. So you cannot continue to keep on making negative choices and looking for positive results. So when people come to me, regardless of whatever circumstance that they are in, my job is to challenge them that irregardless of what that they were going through, that they survived it and that they are a survivor. And if they realize that they are a survivor, that they can make it to the next day. Right. And if you make it to the next day, you're going to have to make better choices than you made the day before, right. And so forth and so on. So we're always trying to give people hope.
Right. In other words, life don't come to you all at one time. It comes to you one
day at a time.
Right.
Exactly. Another thing about life, I shared earlier that my parents died when I was very young. My father when I was 10, my mother when I was 16. And a lot of times when I tell that story, people say, oh, you have a sad story. No, sad things happened to me in my life, and I survived them, and they made me better. Right. Do I want both my mom and dad here? Yes. But at the end result, it did not cause me to lose hope, because even though they were in this world for a short period of time, they gave me what I needed to have to help me become the person that I am today.
In other words, don't lose a fight in the dressing room.
Whatever.
If you're going to win the fight, you got to get in the ring.
Correct.
And if you want to swim, you got to get in the water.
Correct.
And you just can't stand by and let things happen. Make them happen.
Right.
I know, I stole that line that from somebody. I didn't make that up. Okay? Now, you tell me more about your background.
Well, I graduated from the high school here in '82, went to Monaco College. Then I ended up going to college in Cleveland, Tennessee, Lee College. Went there for 4 years, came back to Norristown and was working in my church. Then they sent me out to Philadelphia, and I pastored a church in South Philly for about 3 years.
My paisans down there.
Yeah, right off of 17 and Alta Street.
Where?
Near the Italian Market.
Oh, yeah.
Washington Street takes you down to the Italian Market.
Yeah,
we spent a lot of time at the Italian Market eating. Then I left there and went to Delaware. I lived in Seaford, Delaware for about...
Seaford,
Delaware.
Seaford, that's a lot of
Southern
seafood down
Delaware,
there.
yeah.
I went
Well,
there crabbing down there one time. I
Yeah,
think.
very beautiful town. Nice people, good
Right.
cooks.
Right.
You know,
Little side fried chicken there I had down there.
fried chicken.
Yeah, my brother lived in Berlin, Maryland, and I used to go through there to
Yeah.
go to my brother's.
Crab cakes, dumplings,
Oh,
and
yeah.
all those wonderful Southern style dishes. You know, even though that's not the South proper,
You know,
but
you know, I like baked lima beans in red sauce. I mean, there's a lady on Pearlie Mae Robinson.
I
You
know her.
You know her.
Yeah.
Well, they used to block off Ann Street, and everybody would cook something. And I know one lady, I don't know who she was, but boy, she must come from heaven because she had this baked limas. Oh man, that's so delicious. And then the chicken, you know, it was just really, really great. You know.
that's part of my love of cooking. My mother taught me.
Yeah, you were supposed to cook.
Yeah, I was supposed to cook.
Yeah,
I
because
showed up
when I
last
first met
month.
you said, "Hey, I can cook better than that guy."
I'm the
Well,
best
come on
cook in
my show.
Norristown. I am the best cook in Norristown.
Okay.
I challenge anyone
Okay,
to
well,
challenge me.
I'm booked for the season, but I'm bringing you back in September, and you better bring. What do
Would
you
love to.
cook?
Fish, fried chicken, you name it. Ribs, collard greens, string beans, potato salad.
I had a sample of it because I went over there.
macaroni
You were
and
having a,
cheese.
what was that?
We had a
party?
dinner sale. My church caters for different businesses from time to time. So we had a Good Friday dinner sale. We had about 200 orders that we had to
Yeah.
honor. So
And I ate one of them.
you loved it, didn't you?
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I put
cornbread.
you on the show. And then I
I
come over here and
know.
you call me, I can't make it.
I
'cause
showed
had
up a
birth-
month early. I was here in April for the show.
I know, you get the days mixed up.
Yeah.
But that's all right. You know, I have an excuse. I had around 25, 30 fights, you know.
Yeah.
So now, how about your family?
Well, I've been married for 17 years. I have my beautiful wife. I met her in Florida. We married there in Florida about, 17 years ago. We have 7 children. Our oldest son is 23. He lives in Philadelphia. He works in Wilmington, Delaware. And then we have a 17-year-old son. Then our only daughter, she's at chartered school in Phoenixville.
Phoenixville.
And then we have Simeon and Tyler.
What's the name?
Simeon. That's a Bible name. Simeon in the scriptures. Jonathan is a Bible name. Andrew is a Bible name.
Andrew.
Yes.
I know Andrew. What was that other bit?
Simeon.
I don't know him.
All right. Matthew, Jeremiah, and Stephen.
They're all right. They're
You know
strong
those.
names.
Yes.
They're strong
And our
names.
daughter name is Jayla.
Yeah. What?
Jayla.
Jayla. What's that
Jayla.
mean?
It means servant of God.
How do you know?
That's what the Word of God tells me.
Routine question. Okay.
You can spell it Jaala, but we spell it Jayla.
That's nice. You know, I like names that have like a little music to
Yeah.
it or a little melody or whatever. You know, it swings along rather than just a chop, chop, you know.
So,
That-
beautiful family. They're good kids.
Are any of them going to win the ministry?
I don't know. That would be their choice.
You're not pushing nobody.
No, that would be their choice.
Right.
That would be their choice. My dad was a farmer. My mother was a housewife.
Uh-huh.
And I'm a minister. So,
So, it's going along. The same thing with my family. My father was a shoemaker. We all worked in a shoemaker shop, you know.
Right.
But then fighter was a professional fighter. My other brother was, so everybody did. Another one has a restaurant. The other one had a shoe shop, and the other one, his whole life was a boxer, professional. So it's good that, your family's there. You have that feeling of friendship. How do they when you see them, what do you encourage them to do? Do you any words of advice?
my son, which is here, he's at this school. He plays sports.
What kind of sports?
He plays football.
Uh-huh.
Jonathan plays football here on the team. I encourage them to, just appreciate life. I mean, it's sometimes with my schedule, it gets very busy, but my wife is very good at trying to make sure we do things with them. We've taken them to Disney World or Disneyland several times and go on family trips. We try to do family time on an ongoing basis, and I try to give private time to them to spend time with them. But it gets very busy with 6 children still at home.
Good.
Stuff
Yeah.
like that.
I guess so.
Plus a
right?
dog, T-Bone.
Uh-huh. What's your favorite dish?
My favorite dish, Lord, probably, turnip greens.
What?
Turnip greens. It's like collard greens, but it's a leafy vegetable that takes time to cook. and it has to be seasoned well. In Southern cooking, you don't rush food. You have to take your time and spend time really cooking certain food. This al dente stuff, cooking
It's not
food,
a Burger King,
half cooked,
right?
it's not a good thing for
No,
Southern
you gotta-
people. We take time to cook.
Yeah, good. Yeah, you have to take time. You know, any fast food, you know, it's take your time. You know, the same thing with the Italian. When you make the sauce, and it goes boopity boop, boopity boop. You know, let it cook, let it move in there. You know, and then you get it. You put the meatballs in, and then the meatballs get saturated with that. You know, Madonna, it's really good, right?
Yes.
So, well, how come you didn't open a restaurant or something?
Well,
you're almost like a restaurant. You cater to
businesses.
businesses.
Well, that would have required a lot of time.
Right.
And the church is the priority, you know, so we have to be balanced properly. So we can't take away from that. Me personally, I support people that open restaurants, you know, and things like that. That would be one thing I would love to see Norristown have, a very solid, good Southern style restaurant, you know, in this community.
Well, come on, let's talk about it. Let's get somebody to get
Well,
moving
if you
on
know
that.
anyone that has some good money that want to invest in it, I'm the person.
All right. All right, I'd come to think of it. Anybody out there wants to put a couple bucks in? We got the cook here. You know, I always had to tell this story. You know, when I was in the Army,
Okay.
you know, I got a medal. I saved my whole company. I shot the cook.
Okay.
Okay, well, that's an old joke, and it's an old joke. That's a Social Security joke. You're getting me to 65. Okay, now, what message do you have for youth today?
Well, I'm glad
We're
you
in
asked that
Norristown High School,
question.
okay?
We are currently the ministerium, the Association
tell
of
me
Churches.
something about ministerium in
Well, the
Norristown.
ministerium is about maybe 45 to 50 years old in this community. You know, it has several different presidents over the years. You know, some of the most recent presidents have been Pastor Byron Craig, that pastors Macedonia, Pastor John West, Pastor Fennell. But most recently, we have embarked in this campaign, you know, to help challenge the youth of our community as far as anti-violence. You know, there's a program out of Boston, Massachusetts called the 10-Point Coalition. And it comes into communities and look at the dynamics of why some of the young people are getting involved in negative choices and help give them positive choices. So last year, we kicked off a campaign called Season of Peace, where we just had a 3-day program where we just went out in the community, talked with young people, and try to get an understanding of what can we do to help offer them places of positive environments and things like that. So this year, we're trying to do that again. We want to go out into the community. We walk the community in the evening times or at night times, and we talk to young men and young women, and we say, what do you think about this community? What things can we do to make this community safer and better for you without being judgmental? We find them whatever situation they're in, we just talk to them. And there's a lot of quality young men and women in this community. And, you know, as a parent, especially of 5 sons in particular, you know, we could be quick sometimes to just prejudge them, you know.
Right.
And it's, a lot of times it's out of concern because we're not fully understanding the culture they're coming from. We don't know the music that they're listening to. We don't know the influence that's challenging their mind. And we need to get an understanding from where they're coming from. And if you can get an understanding from where they're coming from, it helps you give a different response to them. You know, just seeing them for who they are.
Right.
And it's kind of hard for parents not to do that because we see the exterior person and not the interior person a lot of the times. But there are a lot of good quality young men and women in our community that we just quickly judge them based on their style of clothes.
Right.
And you can't do that. You got to give them a time to get to know who they are.
But my years have been in law enforcement with juvenile. The juvenile and county detectives and with the Norristown Police. And I remember I just tell them, you know, when I would get in some kind of trouble, I try to give them a little bit of advice and say, look, if you get yourself a juvenile record, you get some kind of record, it's going to stay with you, okay? And you have a diploma, graduate high school, you got a diploma here and you got a criminal record here, a juvenile record here, you know, and you have to show both. That's the first thing they ask in the job. So why do you want to have that criminal record in your hand? You just have that high school record.
Right.
You know, your graduations. And that's the most important. Now, what do you think of bullying today?
Well, I know
But
there's a lot.
My bullying, I'll tell you my position on bullying. Go ahead.
Well, I think we really need to listen to what we're hearing in the media and really create these opportunities to talk to our children. When you hear something on the news, especially young kids, you know, that are being bullied, that you need to talk to your child. Is that going on in your school? Is that happening to you? Because we just take a lot of things for granted. I think it's up to parents to really talk to our children to learn to respect humanity, all people, all nationalities, all races. You know,
Well, do you think that there should be a kid, boy or girl, standing on their own 2 feet in case somebody starts giving them a hard time?
Well,
what do you think of it?
I think as parents, we have to be very careful how we teach our kids to defend and protect themselves.
Okay.
You can defend yourself with words as opposed to physical violence.
Right.
You know, I think we need to teach our kids to stand up for what they believe is right and true.
Right.
You know, but it doesn't have to always be physical.
Right.
You know, for them to stand up.
It don't have to be physical, but at least to be able to stand up on your 2 feet.
Right.
You know, when somebody gives you a hard time, at least stand there, respond.
You know, what I found for some of my children that there's a lot of good karate programs that you can get them involved in, and if they feel self-confident about themselves, they're less apt to be intimidated.
Well, I was teaching boxing. I had boxing for juveniles. They used to come to City Hall, 10, 15, 20 of them, put the gloves on, learn how to defend themselves.
Right.
And how to, you know, and my own experience, my own son, he was going to St. Patrick's School, and he used to ride the bus, and this kid had a hood, and he used to grab it and pull it, you know, and rip it, and then they used to have the lunch kettle, was made of tin, and he used to get it, and, you know, this kid would, and my son was not a fighter. He didn't, you know, and they would come back with a broken lunch can, his jacket. I said, what are you doing? So he says, well, it's Billy, you know. I said, okay. So I'm teaching all these kids in Norristown about boxing. Next thing he comes over to me, he says, I want to go down to the gym and want to box. I said, oh my God, my kid wants to be a boxer. That's great, you know. He come in, you know, boom, boom, jab, jab, right hand, boom, bang. Teaching, you know, boom. Oh, okay. So next thing you know, after you come to the gym about 4 or 5 times, you know, box a little bit, got his strength back, got his guts, whatever you want to call it, right? Finally, I get a knock on the door. The father from this kid says, you know, your son punched my kid in the mouth. I says, no kidding. What's your son's name? Billy. He says, oh, is that the one that ran? I says, well, you better get out of here. I said, because your kid's been beating up on my kid and damaging clothes. You know, I said, now you get gone, you know. So next thing, my son never come back to the gym. But he go long enough to learn how to fight, and that's it. No more bullying.
Right.
So, and I've had that where teaching kids how to box to be able to stand on their own 2 feet.
Right.
Well, not in all cases. You know, there's something where somebody calls you a name, you know, whether they call you Dago, Wop, or everything, you know. Well, sometimes you have to be able to handle that. Right. You know, something. You know, the guy used to call me Dago, Wop. I says, you know, smile, baby, or something like that. But back, there's a lot of things like that. But now they're getting so involved that it's a major thing. But I think the kids to stand up, you know, have a little bit of respect.
Yes.
Both sides. If both know that they know how to handle themselves, boxers don't go around beating everybody.
Right.
If you know how to fight.
Yes.
Right? So go ahead. You have any experience like that? Anybody beat
Fighting?
you up when you were a kid?
When I was in middle school in South Carolina, there was a bully in school.
What'd you do?
My mother taught us, if you get into a fight, you need to resolve it yourself. I don't want you to come home crying about it. If you win, if you lose. Right. So eventually the bully and I got into it. Unfortunately, I won. I was able to beat him up. You know, I didn't get in any trouble by the principal nor my mom, and he stopped bullying people.
Right.
Now, that's not something that I encourage everybody to do, to fight, but I mean, I'm the younger of 5 brothers, so I had to learn how to defend myself. Okay.
I had 3 other brothers. They're all boxers, you know,
but there are other ways that I believe that we can resolve issues with young people. You know, and giving them self-confidence about themselves is one of the most important things I think we do as parents or as schools or as the church, you know, and things like that. You know,
another thing, I remember when I was a juvenile officer at my office, the woman lady would come in, and I don't know if she'd say, bring her son. He says, he says, my son, he won't listen to me anymore.
Right.
Ever since my husband died,
Right.
he says he's surrounded by his aunt, all women, and there's no man voice. He says, will you talk to him? Will you, put some fear in him, and I often wondered, I said, you have a man's voice. Well, a woman can have a man's voice too.
Right.
She can have discipline too.
Right.
So I was saying to myself, it's good, but I don't want to be a policeman. I don't want to be scaring
Right.
people.
Right.
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 I want that to be able to stand up on 2 feet, and the mother to be able to
Right.
work out something. I had a lady that, her husband was a doctor, and the kid was getting beat up at the YMCA. So he come to the gym, I'd teach him how to box. Boom, next thing you know, over there and defend himself.
Right.
No problem.
Right.
But that's only one area where it's a physical bullying, or even attacking someone, taking their lunch, whatever. Shakedown.
Yeah.
That all happens in the school.
Yes.
So, you, as a minister, I asked you before, what would you do to turn things around, make a town the best around? You said one thing about getting people together. What else?
Well, celebrating
Crime.
crime, there has to be a respect for the police department.
Respect.
And the police department must have a respect for the citizenship of
right.
Norristown.
Right.
The police department really needs to have an understanding of the diversity of Norristown. It's a forever changing community. And being understanding of people's cultures, where they're coming from, knowing who they are and what things matter to them. Because sometimes you have to respect the office as well as the officer.
Right.
And it's one thing to demand the respect, but it's another thing for someone to give you the respect.
Yeah, I find it the lack of respect is really a basic seed. Lack of respect for the parents, lack of respect for the police, that have the authority, lack of respect for the judges when they put you on probation, lack of respect for the clergy, So this is something so if we teach respect, it'll get you on the right road.
Right.
And you know what? The half hour is over.
Is it?
Yeah, okay. So,
thanks so much.
Reverend, it's been a pleasure,
And you.
And
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate you coming here. And the next time you come, you bring your cooking pots and pans. And what are you going to cook right away?
Whatever you want me to cook.
Okay. Got a little spaghetti on the side. Okay.
I will do that. Thank you so much.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks a lot for allowing us to come into your home. And may you have a good time. Don't worry about the economy. Everything's going to work out okay. And may God bless each and every one of you. Adios. Grazie.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
And here's a little token of appreciation coming on my show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Okay. Alla salute.